Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 403 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our third book is called From Letters to Leaders, Leveraging Your Fraternity or Sorority Experience to Land Your Dream Job. And that is on Amazon. Go and pick up that book today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, after the spring semester, I'm going to be able to start working on my dissertation for a doctorate in assessment, learning, and student success at Middle Tennessee State University. My son also goes to MTSU, and he's enjoying himself as a data science major. The staff and the faculty over at MTSU are absolutely wonderful. It has been a great experience. And so our next guest is also a graduate from MTSU. After 10 years of practicing mainly criminal defense and making Nashville history as a judicial campaign manager, Courtney Teasley decided she didn't want to wait until the next election to continue creating the change she wanted to see. She wanted more change way faster. Now she has converted her law practice into a full proactive coaching and consulting firm where she can assist lawyers in starting their own criminal defense law practices with a trajectory to the bench, as well as train the community on how to represent themselves with a lawyer present by providing strategic defense case preparation. Welcome to the show, Courtney.
Hi, thank you for having me, Michael.
Hey, it is my pleasure. It is so great to meet you and to talk to you a little bit more on the podcast because I just love what you're doing. I think it's absolutely incredible. And if I can help to amplify your voice to a larger pool, especially college students that need to hear your message, I'm all about it.
Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
You are very welcome indeed. And of course, you are a fellow MTSU grad. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Why did you decide? I mean, you could have gone anywhere in the Nashville area. Why did you decide on MTSU?
Oh my gosh. So thank you again for having me here. I'm so excited to be here on your podcast, the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. And so I chose MTSU because I am a Nashville native. Mm-hmm. And I grew up basically going to TSU my entire life, right? I visited all of this, all of those things are kind of part of growing up in Nashville. Right. And so when I came out, I was like, I want to go away. I want to go away. I went to Stratford High School. And, I was like, I don't want to go so far that I can't get the help I need if I need it immediately. But I want to kind of see what's out there, and MTSU, my aunt had went there and luckily I got a scholarship to go there. Yeah, so it kind of sweetened the pot and made it a lot easier. And I swear it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I mean, yeah, you could have easily have gone to TSU or to Fisk or any of these places. But you know what? Listen, President McPhee is great at handing out all kinds of scholarships for the students at MTSU. He hands out scholarships to everybody.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
And that helps, I mean, whatever money you save.
Experience. Exactly.
I like it. I like it a lot. Well, listen, it's a great place, and I'm glad to know a fellow MTSU grad. You're also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes. So I'm wondering, what made you want to join Delta?
Oh my goodness. So Delta is and was my destiny. My grandmother and my great aunt actually pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated at the Beta chapter in Wilberforce University, right? Wilberforce University. And so I had no idea how deep Delta was back then, right? And so when I knew that they pledged and all of that, but I didn't know a whole lot. And so when I came, I started learning more about it. Researching, and then I watched the women there, and I was like, oh man, yeah, like listen, the alignments there, these are some movers and shakers. I'm a mover and shaker. Oh yeah, it was destined from the moment I stepped foot on campus.
I love that. That's really good. I'm so happy that you had a good experience there, and obviously you have lots of love for Delta, so
oh my
I
goodness,
like that a lot. that resonates with me because I want to meet and be be around passionate fraternity and sorority members, and you're definitely one of them.
Listen, let me tell you about something. We used to the pike parties at MTSU.
Sure.
Oh my God, those pike parties were epic. We loved them. They used to let us practice. We used to do a lot of step show things together. So I had a very good experience. Even before I pledged, it was our MTSU campus is just kind of prime for that, right? With all the Greek role and all the different things. Yeah. So I had a great time there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And then eventually you got your Juris Doctorate at Nashville School of Law. So what made you want to go into the legal profession now?
Well, I guess what made me want to go into the legal profession is pretty much I've always been what I call a DAM advocate, and DAM stands for disproportionately affected marginalized minorities, so DAMM. And I speak up, I've always spoken up for people whose voice is was not as strong as mine. And so when I was young, it came off more as arguing, right? It was more arguing all the time. But I did debate at MTSU. You know, I did the pre-law track. I did the mock trial, moot court, did all that good stuff. But I just felt like being a lawyer was naturally something I was just good at. It just naturally kind of happened for me. It was like, yeah, hey, you know, you like to present facts. You like to get to the bottom of this. You like to, you know, you don't like people being taken advantage of. Okay, I'll be a lawyer.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right. And so you also had your own criminal defense law firm for the last 10 years. Talk to our audience a little bit about what has that experience been like to have your own law firm? Because there's a bunch of future lawyers who are listening right now wondering, should I even get into this?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. But I always say with a caveat, people don't understand, like when they get into it, a lot of times when you become a lawyer, you want to become a lawyer, especially when you're from what I call, again, the DAM community, DAMM, and you want to have more money, right? You don't want to be broke anymore. You don't want a job that's not paying enough money. And so a lot of times you go to law school for that, and you know, you thought you want to help people, you want to do all these different things, but when you come out, you start to realize, oh, I got these loans. So then you think you got to go work for the state to get them paid off, or you think you got to go work for someone else. And a lot of times being your own boss is not encouraged, right? Or owning your own law practice, hanging your shingle is what we call it. So I told you again, I'm from Nashville, and I've just always been able to recognize what my potential was. So when I came out, I said, oh, you're going to be making how much money off of me? Okay, you can pay me $100,000, but I'm billing $200,000 or $300,000, and you're taking advantage of all of my contacts, right? I'm bringing people to your firm. And so it just made more sense for me to open my own law practice, although I wish I would have had people who like I am now, right? Where I help lawyers open their own practice, because it's hard. It's just hard because you're always unsure of yourself. But I did it for the last 10 years because it really gave me all of the change-making ability, opportunities that I wanted. I was able to be a mock trial coach for my alma mater, Stratford High, multiple years and make a difference there. I was able to teach at TSU as a criminal justice professor. And in my book, one of my students, I actually talk about them, is what really pushed me on this proactive role, because I was able to intercede in a case that they had early on and avoid them being prosecuted. I know your rights speaker all over Tennessee and Kentucky. And so, and the campaign manager, like you said. So had I worked for a firm, or had I worked for the state, I would have my hands tied, right? Mm-hmm. And I would not be able to make as much change. And so it's been fun. Over the last 10 years, it has been a fun ride, full of helping a lot of different people, and just, ready for the next phase, so I can help others funnel in and make even more change than I was able to, right, by myself. And I didn't have any ambitions of scaling my law practice. So I want to scale a different business, so, which we'll talk about, but I am here now coaching other lawyers and women who are now trying to use their businesses as a means to disrupt systems that oppress the least of us.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. I think if you're going to open up your own business, your own firm, you really need to have a mentor or a coach, somebody that's going to guide you so that way you don't make all the mistakes that they made. And because there's no reason for it. You know what I mean? Like just go and find other people that have been there and done that. So that way you don't fall into those holes and like, oh boy, I made a big mistake here.
Yeah, it happens. And then don't forget, when you're dealing in criminal law, you're dealing with people's lives,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
we're dealing with actual people. And when you're dealing in any type of law, family law, personal injury, you got to take this stuff seriously because this is oftentimes this person's biggest moment in their life, right? Or something's going on. And so you really have to actually be a damn advocate. You have to actually take that seriously and not just kind of be in it for, oh, I'm just trying to bill an hour or something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So you talked a little bit about that. You were the campaign manager for the youngest person who was ever elected as criminal court judge in the city of Nashville at the age of 35 years old. Talk to our
Yes.
audience. How were you so successful in this particular campaign?
Oh my goodness. And so even in another thing that people often don't recognize is, and that we didn't know when we were doing this, was
Hmm.
that that was the first time a criminal court judge had ever been unseated, right? In
Hmm.
history. And I'm glad I didn't know that statistic at the time. But I doubled down on my rights as a citizen. Right. I doubled down. I think being a lawyer really makes me aware why I wrote my book, The Easy Way to Learn Your Rights, because it makes me, being a lawyer makes you very aware of what your rights are and why they're so important to use them, because I see them full circle. Right. I see what happens when you don't use them. I see what happens. And so I had sat through quite a few elections before, but I was busy practicing law, because when you're practicing law, a lot of what you do is practice, and you don't really focus on much else. So I wasn't into campaigns. I was not this political person or anything. I just knew that something needed to be done, and that elections only came up every 8 years.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm not going to sit through another 8 years of this, right? And I don't think the people should. So I just started doubling down on what my rights were as citizens, and what my rights as a citizen were, to organize, to be able to bring people together to understand what's happening here. And then I use my knowledge of the criminal justice system, particularly in that realm in Nashville, of what judges had said and done before that people in the public didn't really know about or pay attention to. And so then I just started to focus their attentions on things that were affecting us the most. And we really just started to grab people who were not necessarily political people. We just grabbed people who had influence and skills and abilities, and and taught them about why this is so important. Why do we need to care about this? Black Americans are 5 times more incarcerated than the 60% white majority. We have criminal justice reform going on, but it's very reactive, not so proactive. And so once people started to understand how it affected them more, right, it was like, oh, okay, now what can I do? And we would just give them things to do, how to help, post, show up, reshare, just different things that more millennials and Gen Z focus on doing. And so we just kind of intertwined that, and it worked.
That's
We worked
fantastic.
hard. We got out. We beat every door. We told everybody that would listen about what we were doing. So we worked hard, but we did a whole lot of grabbing the new age of where campaigns are going and really intertwining it.
Good for you. That's amazing. That's an incredible story. And you talked a little bit about the book. I mean, you wrote a whole book series that educates and empowers individuals to unapologetically use their power as citizens. I think this book is a vital resource for anybody who is likely to be disproportionately affected by the criminal justice system. So, talk to our audience. What will folks learn by reading your book series?
Listen, Michael, I'm so happy you asked me that. I literally just got through recording. I'm going to have a free resource here. It's going to be a free email course
Okay.
that parents can take, and it helps them learn how to protect and prepare their DAM children, DAMM children. And so they're learning basically they're learning how this happens, right? The majority of the people that I represented usually are college students, a lot of times, and they made stupid mistakes. I did a I did a case that made, national news. It was the Vanderbilt rape trial, right? Back in the day. And so I've worked with college students over and abundantly. And the problem is, after they make stupid mistakes, which they're bound to do because we know their prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed until age 25. I talk about that in my book as a reason why I created it. They end up doing even stupider things. Like after something has occurred, they may go to a hearing without a lawyer, with the school's asking questions. Now they're going without a lawyer. Now they're telling people what occurred, not remembering they have rights that they can be invoking to protect them. It's not just with the police that you have the right to say, no, I'm not going to talk about this right now. I'll be back with a lawyer. And so people don't understand that. So I decided to make it in a simplified, easy to understand way, this book series. We cut out the fluff, we cut out the fat. We don't talk above anyone's head. Like the business that I built is called MFN, and we speak the language of the damn community, which is African American Vernacular English. It's a recognized language, right? So we speak it just as you're talking to an aunt, a cousin, a sibling, or something, where you're learning these different principles. It's not so overwhelming and scary, but it's giving the parents the education and information that they need. It has a syllabus inside, helps them break it down for their children. And then if you have college students, you can give this to anybody who's 11 years old and older, and they can understand what's going on in the book. They have little straight magic words. What are we talking about here? What situation happens? What do we do? So that is what I think is going to take to actually put a dent in mass incarceration, is that we start proactively educating. We start from the beginning, right?
I like that a lot.
So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you definitely did. There's no question about it. And you kind of bring me to that next point, which is everywhere I look, it just seems like we're building bigger and bigger prisons all over the country. I mean, we love to incarcerate people in this country. This is what we do. So I guess that's my question. I mean, other than educating early, how are we going to actually end the mass incarceration that's happening in this country?
I love that you asked me this question. And so it is the whole reason I created MFN. And that's my new business. It is called MFN. And MFN is a for-profit social enterprise created to end mass incarceration through proactive education and entrepreneurship. So as I spoke about proactive education, the books and the courses that we're doing, but the entrepreneurship to me is where we actually start to see the dents going harder, right? Where I did research on the nonprofits that actually have criminal justice reform in their missions. And the problem is that they're all mostly reactive. I listened to, I believe it was the Citizen Project talking about their 50 years fighting mass incarceration, which the Citizen Project has done a lot. We love reentry programs. We love conviction review units. But the problem is they are reactive. They are still reactive. They're needed, but they're reactive. And we need more proactive measures, meaning what can be done prior to someone pleading guilty? What can be done prior to somebody being found guilty? What can our measures be put here? And so with the nonprofits, that's why I started doing trainings, to be able to give them some more proactive measures that they can do, such as criminal defense organizing, right, around cases. But the entrepreneurship is where we actually go to for-profits, and where we're saying, hey, y'all, look, this is a huge issue. Okay. We now have to take our missions and shine a light on the systems that are oppressing the least of us. We don't have the chains on our hands like nonprofits, right? We don't have that oversight where the government's interfering and your donors can pull your funding. You don't work for the state. You don't, and have your hands tied because they feel like everything they do is okay and there's no issue. We have the biggest ability to create that change. And so we don't need the government to tell us how to help the people that need help the most. I say, look at Ben and Jerry's, for instance, right? Ben and Jerry's talks about climate justice all the time. Ben and Jerry's talks about mass incarceration all the time. And they're like, oh yeah, we got some ice cream too, And so it's like, oh, I really want to eat Ben and Jerry's ice cream now, because they're shining a light on the systems that are oppressing the least of us. And that's all that is required. If more of the people who have the funds start talking about these things that are oppressing the least of us, then change starts to actually happen, right? So that's the thought process.
I like that. I like it through entrepreneurship. I think that's great. Here is what you don't know about me is that I actually started the first diversion center out in Wilson County. And so essentially what's happening in Wilson County right now, it's already existing. It's not just an idea in my head. It's called the PIC Center, which stands for Preventing Incarceration in Communities. And if you get picked up on a first-time drug offense out in Wilson County today, instead of taking you to the jail, they take you to our diversion center, and we help you. We get treatment for you instead of letting you go cold turkey in a prison cell. And if you do everything that we ask in terms of getting treatment for your drug addiction for the first 6 months, we are going to expunge your records. In Wilson County, Tennessee, one of the most, conservative spots in the nation is happening right now. That's what you don't know.
So now I want to interview you. No, I'm serious. Like after this, Michael, I'm not playing because now I want more. Send me information on that because I want to circulate that to the lawyer community and say, hey, look over here. Make sure you have a case in Wilson County. You ask them to go to the PIC Center first. I love that.
Yeah, I'll send you all the details and I'll get you all hooked up. But my point in saying
that, tell you to do that? Did anybody tell you to do that?
Well, what happened was we got a really big grant from the federal government. So I work for MTSU's Center for Health and Human Services, and we went out and we got a huge grant. It started out with a $200,000 planning grant, which we got from the federal government. And then after they approved of our idea of the PIC Center, then we went out and we built it. And so we got $1 million grant from the federal government for the implementation in Wilson County, and we built it. And it's an actual building in Wilson County that you can go and check out today.
That is amazing.
Isn't that amazing? And so my point is, if you can do that in the most conservative spot in this entire nation, and I went and I talked to the judges out in Wilson County, and these are people, by the way, who've been like career judges. I mean, these are guys in their like 80s, right? And I said to him, I said, whatever you're doing today in terms of the criminal justice system, is it really working? Are we actually going to arrest our way out of the drug problem here in Wilson County? And they said, no. They said, it's not working. I'm seeing the same people come into my court over and over and over again. So I said, let's try something different. Isn't that the saying, right? Like, you got to try something different if you want different results.
Yes.
What if we had this idea where we actually get people treatment, and so that way they're no longer addicted, and so that way we can get them back to work? Are you down with that? And they all said yes.
Yep.
I said, great. We're going to institute the PIC Center. And I got the DA out in Wilson County to agree to this. So now it's about educating all of the attorneys to say, we have another option for you. If it's a first time drug offense, you're nonviolent, then I can help you. Right. And there's a lot of people that fall into that bucket. So we don't have to build bigger and bigger prisons anymore.
Right. You are so right. Oh, man, kudos to you. Kudos to you.
They're just sick. They're just sick. They just need treatment. That's all.
Yeah, but we need more people who are thinking innovatively and creatively enough to go and say, hey, this is an issue. I know how to solve it. Let me take it upon it.
Yeah, I know how to solve it. And the idea is that I want other counties, not only in Tennessee, but all over the world, all over the country, to basically look at this model and duplicate it. That's it.
I love it.
And so, it's just thinking outside of the box.
You tell me about this earlier.
I didn't tell you about it. I was going to surprise you. I was going to surprise you with that.
Cute. I love that. You made my day.
Well, good. I hope I did. I'll send you a lot of info, and I hope everybody in the country copies it. I really do. It was a test case, and it works. And now we have a 75% success rate in the PIC Center. You know that? 75%. 75%. They go back to work. Their records are expunged. Done. Wow. 75% success rate. There's nothing in the entire industry that has a 75% success rate.
It's proactive. It is proactive. I love that. Thank you for that. And we need more. Yes, please go all across the country and teach people how to do just that.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. So, I mean, so, you take this mindset shift, you want to take people from essentially poverty to financial literacy. I mean, that's part of your mission. How do you make that jump from poverty to
Yeah.
financial literacy?
Yeah. So that's hard,
Yeah.
right? Because people think it happens just because you go to college. People think it happens because you go to a higher education. You might go to law school.
Mhm.
People it doesn't, because what happens is, yes, you get more money, but if you never take that time to actually sit down and figure out the best way to invest your money, or how to create assets for your liabilities, or how to do different things, if you don't get that mindset, which usually comes from growing up in a damn community, which is, I'm not good with money, I don't know what to do, or subconsciously you don't even think, you don't know that you're in that mind state, but you'll get rid of all the money, you spend it, you do something with it, because you have never been taught about what better way, what can I do, right, to actually help me make more money, right, or to help set me up or in a different place. So I think the first thing you have to do is be intentional about
Okay.
learning it, because for me, I, never learned how to run a business in school at all. I didn't learn how to run a business in law school. It never taught you how to do any of that.
Mhm.
You can take CLEs here and there. You can do all these different things, but there was no place just teaching about what to do when you come out. And as you know, from people from the damn community, we don't have a history of people who are lawyers and who have these huge firms and things of that nature, or doctors. We are starting from a different starting line there, right? And so I think that, well, for me, it was about, I became intentional about it, because it was, I said, I don't want to work this hard for the rest of my life,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm making great money, but I'm working hard for my money, very hard. And it can't be like this, right? So now you start looking at, okay, retiring. Now, how much money do I need to put aside? And then, is this real? Is this retirement real? It's like, no, this is not going to work for me either. And so after that, I then got super intentional. I got a business coach. I joined. I started really investing in my learning around it, profit first, right? Thinking about how I want to set up my business and about how I want to grow, because now in my mind, I knew what I did not want at the end.
Mhm.
And I knew that in order to change what that trajectory is going to look like, right, I needed to get some help here. So I think the first step is just being intentional about it, and which is why MFN, we want to be that place for you to be able to come and get that simplified information, the easy to understand information. Ours is going to be more on the entrepreneurship side, right, on building your business, the MS incarceration and the financial literacy around that. But damn community, earn your leisure. They are a great resource to go, and they have courses to kind of start you out on getting your financial literacy together and learning from the bottom, learning from the ground floor without making you feel like you're stupid, right? Or
Mhm.
making you feel
Mhm.
like, oh, you should already know this. No, you should not already know this. It wasn't taught to you. So it's
Right.
okay.
Okay, I like it. You use the Ben and Jerry's example, which I think is a very good example. Also, after the killing of George Floyd, I also saw a lot of people started getting into social causes and social activism. So, how do we ignite the
Mm.
activism of the entire world? I mean, how do we get people to really care and to do something about it?
I love that question, because so when I say ignite your activism, like that is one of our slogans. And I love saying ignite your activism because every one of us has skills and abilities and influence,
Mhm.
regardless of what you do. I don't care what it is you do. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be an activist. You don't have to be someone with 10,000 followers, right? In your community, you are a micro influencer. There are people around you. And so I feel like the way to really ignite people's activism is to show them what their strengths and abilities are. Right. Because a lot of times they don't know it. I didn't learn about my strengths, and I knew things that things I was strong in. But when I started building another business, learning more about myself, growing myself, I said, okay, well, let me go take some more strengths tests. I did Clifton strengths, right? You can do a Clifton strengths test. You
That's good.
can There are a lot of different personality tests you can take, but that one was very comprehensive. And so it helped me articulate myself in ways that maybe I had not learned growing up, right? Maybe I had not ever been told, hey, you are visionary, right? You're futuristic in your thinking, or you're an activator. So, you have a lot of these influencing and strategic relationship building strengths, but your executing strengths, they're down at the bottom. So you have to hire out for things of that nature. But I feel like when I learned my strengths, I was like, oh, okay, now I can lean into them. And so when I started leaning into them, and I was like, oh, this feels right. This feels good. This is my zone of genius. And it made me more confident in what I was doing. So I think that if igniting people's activism has to do with showing them what their strengths and abilities are, and then figuring out what do you really care about changing? What do you care about? What do you want to see different here, right? And then once you have that, like for me, I want to end mass incarceration. For other people, it may be climate justice. For other people, it may be school to prison pipeline, which is a part of mass incarceration, but foster care, it can be whatever you care about. Then we look at, what are your skills? And then now, how do we marry these things? Let's brainstorm around them. Let's talk about it. What would you like to be changed? Just like you did. When you thought about, oh man, I could do something prior. I see that because I practice in Wilson County. Yeah. I know it's a huge habit, a whole lot of people circling in and out. And it's like, you'll sit there and you see the judges, they all know these same people. And it's like, who the hell is going to stand up and say enough? Can there be a different way, y'all? It doesn't have to be the same way. Like, so I think that igniting people's activism has to do with showing them what they're good at, showing them that you have always been a superhero inside, and now it's just time for you. And don't think about trying to do it in a bigger sense or trying to have this huge following. No. Focus on your crowd, your group of people around who care, and you ignite them. You start teaching them, and that stuff catches fire.
I agree with you completely. I mean, all of my contacts are out in Wilson County, so I already knew the mayor. I already knew all of the attorneys. I knew the DA, and I'm like, in my community, I mean, I don't know that I can affect the whole United States of America. That's beyond my comprehension. But here in Wilson County, I think I can do something. I can do something here that's going to make it better here. And then from there, other people are going to learn. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Basically, General Lawson, he's over various counties, not just Wilson County. And then his other counties started saying, hey, I heard about that PIC center you got going on in Wilson County. How do we get one over here? And then before you know it, this thing starts to spread. So just start in your own backyard where you have influence. And then from there, it can grow and flourish. So that's my word of advice.
Is perfect, Michael. You're like the perfect person to talk. Like, seriously, you're like the perfect person because you're doing it. You're living it. And as soon as you said PIC, it made me say, hold on. Is there one in Nashville?
Yeah, everybody now wants one in Nashville. That's the next thing.
And then Sumner County would be a huge one there because for sure, man,
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about it. Happy to talk to other people about what we built in Wilson County. And listen, the fact that it's up and working, and then I can get you, General Lawson's, phone number and email so he can talk to other DAs around Tennessee and say, it's working here. It's working. That's what you need. You need somebody like proof of concept. Nobody wants to be the first person to take that leap to do something different in the criminal
justice system. Tell me about it.
Nobody wants to try something new. There's no innovation. Okay. I mean, we've been doing things the same way for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
So, right? Yeah. So somebody has to be the first person to take a leap. And now we got those people. Now we got the people that are going to say, yes, it's working. It's not just somebody's idea, but it's actually working and it's helping us. So
it's I love that, Michael. I love that.
It's really good. It's really good. You mentioned the Ben & Jerry's thing, which again is really, really good. And you also believe in reinvesting a percentage of your profits into funds, grants, startups, organizations that are proactively disrupting, to create some significant change. So what types of organizations have you helped to promote that are proactively disrupting today?
Thank you for that question, because again, I like to lead the way in this and showing people we don't need the government to, you don't have to have the government tell you how to serve the community that needs help. And so I decided that there's not enough people proactively disrupting. And so what I started with when MFN is a baby, we were born in June, so we were a baby here. But when we were in the pre-planning stages, the first case we did was I had a case I criminal defense organized around, and it was a case of a family in Manchester, Tennessee that had their 5 kids taken after they were all over marijuana, right? And so we fought that case very vigorously. But the problem that kept coming up was that people, usually people assume people from the damn community don't have money, right? Or they assume, oh, everything has to be free. Well, no, people from the damn community want quality services. They want people who are going to do right by them, and they just need affordable payment options. But oftentimes after they have those affordable payment options, you'll see some lawyers may take advantage of them, don't do the case right. And so maybe they don't have enough money for a lot else after that lawyer. And so that came in with them fighting that case for so long. They didn't have a place to stay. They didn't have, they needed experts that cost lots of money. And so we were able to help them raise money around that, but then we were able to personally, as an organization, give a location for them to stay without having, so they didn't have to worry about where they're going to lay their heads while they're coming to try to see their kids. I mean, it was hard because they're driving back and forth from Atlanta, right? And having to see their children, and then having to find somewhere to stay, and then going back for work, coming back. It was a lot. So that was the first time we were able to assist. And then we started offering our DAM advocate training for nonprofits. And what we did was then created where when we have a person sign up, a nonprofit sign up, we then give a nonprofit that is that has less means, right? They don't have the ability to afford it. We then train them for free on how to be a DAM advocate and how to give those types of give that type of help, right? Early on, proactively. And so those are the first 2 that we started with. So we started with that first one, and now we have a nonprofit that we are training to be a DAM advocate. So now we're hoping to do more as we grow more, because we're still little, we're still young. We don't have a whole hell of a lot of sales or anything, but as we grow, our ability to give will grow significantly.
That's fantastic. I love that model. I think that is really, really good. I'm proud of the work that you're doing. I know you're just starting out. You're on this, the beginning of this journey, but I think it's great, the work that you do. I really like it a lot.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, of course. And we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I mean, that's my weakness, is good food. You know what I'm saying? So where should I go for a great meal in Nashville these days? Because I feel like there's new restaurants that are coming in and out all the time.
I have prepared for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm prepared for you. So I have, okay, I'm going to give you, to me, now I'm from East Nashville, right? Yeah. You're going to get people who go back and forth with you over this, but I'm going to tell you the best wing spot.
Oh, I'm listening. I'm all ears now. Okay. All right, I'm ready.
And so it is Got Wings. It's GHOT.
Okay.
Wings, WINGZ. That's right. Got Wings. I will say I'm sorry, I'll stand by it. I stand by it. So Got Wings. And then the second place I'm gonna give you is a new spot that I just went to for brunch, and it's really good. It's also in East Nashville, but I don't know how to say it. I think it's Bawa. It's XIA, and then the second word is BAO. So it's an Asian restaurant, and it's really, really, really good.
For brunch, really? Okay. All right. Well, very good. Really Those are 2 excellent recommendations. My wife is always looking for a new brunch spot, so that's going to definitely fit that. And let me tell you, I went to school, my undergraduate is at University of Buffalo. So I know something about wings. I know just a little
Come on
bit.
Now.
Just a little bit. So I'm going to be trying out Got Wings, and we're going to see if it really measures up. Because if it does, then believe me, then I'm going to be very happy. I'll be their best customer.
If I'm wrong, at me.
All right. I think you're right. I think I have a good feeling about you. I feel like you really know good wings. So you would not tell me to go there.
I know good wings.
All right. All right. We're going to see. We're going to see. I'm going to test your theory. All right. So if our listeners, if they want you to come and speak on their college campus, if they want to get more information about what you're doing, where can they go to connect with you, Courtney?
They can go to www.cteasley.com. cteasley.com. That is my first initial and my last name. You can find me on LinkedIn, the Courtney Teasley, and same Instagram at the Courtney Teasley. I am so not hard to find. Y'all come get me.
All right, that sounds good. Go and check it out. It's C Teasley. So it's letter C, TEASLEY.com. Go and check out all the stuff that Courtney is working on because it is just dope. So go and check it out. And so, Courtney, thank you so much for sharing all your information with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I appreciate it so much. I've enjoyed this conversation. You just don't even know.
Well, that's good. And to our listening audience, if you enjoyed listening to Courtney, make sure you like it, make sure you share it on social media with other college students. And we look forward to seeing you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.